our God! Who else can do that? Who else can do that? God's people stepped out in faith into the waters of the rivers of Jordan, and God stood between them and the danger, sheltered them in his wings, held back the waters so that they would not be destroyed. Imagine for a moment, just like cast your imaginations over that scene where the Israelites are formed up in their regiments behind the Levites, behind the priests with the Ark of the Covenant, and they're lined up behind it, and let's just see this ridiculously big river that's not just swollen, it's burst its banks. And there's a torrent of water, just the sound of that water going, and the flow of it, and the power of it, and the strength of it, the might of it, that river. And they're standing there and they're looking at it, and you can imagine, like, are they really going to do this? Are they really going to? Yes, they are. Here they go. And as soon as they step on it, bam, the waters go. Can you imagine? Imagine seeing that. Look, what? Imagine the response. You got the whole nation of Israel. Imagine way! Whoa! They must have just erupted with the sheer overwhelm. Like, wow! They must have it would have blown their minds, and they must have just been flabbergasted, amazed, just beyond imagining. And then they must have just celebrated God. Yes! That's our God! Who else can do that? Who else can do that? Could you imagine it? Can you imagine what that must have been like? They're like, wow! Let's go! And into the waters they go. And the Ark of the Covenant is set in the middle of the Jordan. They put it down. The Ark of the Covenant is representative of God. That's the place where God meets his people at the Ark, right? And so right there you have God standing between the waters of the torrent and his people, holding back the waters so his people can be safe. God's people stepped out in faith into the waters of the rivers of Jordan, and God stood between them and the danger, sheltered them in his wings, held back the waters so that they would not be destroyed. And he let them pass as if on dry ground. And at the place where they set the Ark of the Covenant, God commands them to set up an altar. Stones of remembrance of the God who stood here and held back the waters on your behalf. And once it was accomplished, God stands aside and the water continues on its way. Yahweh saves. Joshua saves. The greater Joshua, Jesus, saves. God to the rescue. It is Jesus who stands between us and our enemies in the world, the enemies that are not of flesh and blood, but the spiritual powers of this present darkness that wage war against us. Our God stands between us and them, and we are safe. Why do we fear? What do we have to fear? Be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Be strong and courageous. Put on the armor of God and get after it. Your enemies will flee before you.